One of the easiest ways to understand what user experience design is by first talking about what it isn't. One of the things that's interesting about the fact that we now have a name for this discipline is the fact that when I was in school back in the Stone Ages, we just called this design, essentially. Okay, and at that point it was just print design because there was no internet. There wasn't even really computers until I was in my junior year. So much of what we learned was essentially not only about what you do visually and what sort of interaction decisions you make. It was also all about people, okay? What they will react to, how they interpret things, what they want, what they need, what they're willing to use, what's appropriate for them. All those things, okay, that bled into things like branding, marketing, advertising, and of course visual graphic design. But the point I'm getting at is that all these things that form the foundation of good user experience design and what we call customer experience, user experience, are also at the heart of good design in general. So the place I'm going to start is with an independent designer by the name of Whitney Hess, who wrote an excellent article about common myths and misconceptions around user experience design. And in that article, she interviewed several prominent practitioners within the fields of design, interaction design, and user experience, and put together a list of things that represent people's misconceptions about what exactly user experience designers do and what the discipline is about, and to some degree why it's important. So that's the place we're going to start. First and foremost, user experience design is not user interface design. Okay, the two are not the same thing. Interface design is most certainly a part of user experience design, okay, but it's only one facet. User interface applies specifically to what people see on the screen, okay, the end result, buttons, content, images, the arrangement of all those things, right? The sort of bridge between the user and the system. Okay, but it's more than that. Peter Merholtz, who is a founding partner of a firm called Adaptive Path, whose founder, Jesse James Garrett, actually coined the phrase user experience, says that interface is a component of user experience, but there is much, much more. And that much, much more includes things that have to do with cognitive science, okay? It has to do with people, what they want, what they need, what they're willing to use, why they react to things the way that they do. It includes research into competition. It includes research into business needs, business goals, okay? The product's reason for being in the first place, okay? So user experience is certainly more than its individual parts, one of which is user interface design. So it's about much more than just what we see on the screen, right? As Kristen Crumlish of Yahoo says, it's not about cosmetics, it's not about pixel pushing, it's not about button placement, okay? It's more than that, it's holistic. It's everyone's concern, not just the realm of artistic types, okay? I am very fond of saying that user experience design isn't just practiced by designers, okay? It's also practiced by people sort of typically thought of to be removed from the discipline, like project managers, like developers, like database designers, software architects, and engineers. Everyone who's involved, no matter how tangentially, in the process of creating a digital product has some impact and responsibility for user experience design, because all their actions, the sum total of all that stuff together, is what creates user experience design. It's what makes user experience positive or negative. User experience design isn't a step in a process. In fact, it is the process. Okay, all the things that we do from sort of the inception phase of a project, when we first start discussing what it is that we think we want to do and why we're doing it and who we're doing it for, all the way through to the point when we actually have a programmed visual website or an app or a system or something that we can hold in our hand, that's all part of user experience design. It's all part of the process, okay? Liz Dansico, who's the chair of the School of Visual Arts, says user experience design isn't a checkbox, okay? You don't do it and then move on. It needs to be integrated into everything that you do, right? So as I said previously, it's everybody's job. It's everybody's responsibility, and it comes from everything that everybody does. Here's maybe another way of putting that, okay? When we think of design, right, we traditionally think of this idea that form follows function, okay, which is partially true, okay? There are certainly many examples where form does indeed follow function, right? The function of something determines what it looks like, right, how it's built. But for the most part, what really happens in just about any design process is that every force evolves the form of the product. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, during a project, okay, from start to finish, there are any number of factors that influence the way things turn out. Okay, you have client needs and demands, you have budgetary expectations, you have time limitations, you have personnel limitations, you have audience preconceptions, political battles inside organizations. Okay, there are any number of issues that come up during product development, and all those things bear considerable weight on what the final form factor and what the final sort of quality of the user experience is. Okay, so it's not as clear cut as form follows function, and it's not as clear cut in that user experience design is, okay, we do it and then we're done. Dan Brown, who's the co-founder of 8 Shapes, an excellent design firm, says most people expect user experience design to be a discrete activity. But it's not, he says. It must be an ongoing effort, continually learning about users, responding to behaviors, and evolving the product or service. Okay, I think that's a great, great description because, again, evolution, right? Every force evolves form. That's what happens. As things progress, they become more real based on all the factors that influence design and development at any point during that process. Another pervading myth is that user experience design is solely about technology, solely about digital products, something that lives on a computer or a screen of some kind. And that's really not true, okay? And that's why I'm showing you a picture of a kitchen faucet, okay? All product design considers user experience in its design, okay? The handle is built in a certain ergonomic fashion so that when you grip it, it moves a certain way, and it's sort of enjoyable to do that. It moves easy. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on it. For instance, there are some other faucets that you simply tap them and they turn on and tap them when they turn off. Okay, those are form considerations. They're functional considerations, and they're considerations that determine whether the product is enjoyable to use. Right? Well, that's user experience. Okay, that's an informed design process that's meant to achieve a certain result. Bill DeRoche echoes this sentiment when he says that UXD is not limited to the confines of the computer. It doesn't